Welcome back to day number 254. My name is Mary, and today's story is The Crowd Fed Again. So many people tried to see Jesus in that place that he went around Galilee and went back to the country called Decapolis on the east of the Sea of Galilee. You remember that Jesus had visited this country before when he cast the army of evil spirits out of a man and into the hogs. At that time, the people almost drove Jesus away from their land. But now they were glad to see him and brought their sick to him to be healed. Perhaps they had heard how kind and good and helpful Jesus was. They led up to Jesus a man who was deaf and could not speak plainly. They asked Jesus to cure him, but Jesus would not do his work to entertain the crowds. He took the man away from the crowd, and when he was alone with him, he put his fingers into the man's ears and touched his tongue. Then he looked up to heaven, gave a sigh, and said to the man, "Be opened." The man's ears were opened, and his tongue was set free. So he heard and spoke plainly. Jesus told the man and those with him not to let others know what he had done. But they could not keep from telling the good news to everybody. They were full of wonder, for they had not seen the works of Jesus. And they said, "He has done all things well. He even makes the deaf to hear and the dumb to speak." In the land of Decapolis, as before in Galilee, great crowds of people came to see and hear Jesus. They followed him without thinking that they would need food to eat. And Jesus said to his disciples, "I feel pity for these people, for they have now been with me 3 days, and they have nothing to eat. If I send them home hungry, they will faint by the way." For many of them came from far away. The disciples answered, "How can we find bread for such a great crowd of people here in the desert, so far from the village?" "How many loaves of bread have you?" asked Jesus. They said, "We have 7 loaves and a few small fish." Then he told all the people to sit down on the ground. When they were seated, Jesus took the 7 loaves and the fish, gave thanks to God, broke them, and gave them to his disciples, who gave them to the people. Then, as before, he had them gather up the food that was left, and they filled 7 large baskets with the pieces. This time, 4,000 men were fed, besides women and children. After the meal, he sent the people to their homes. He and his disciples went on board a boat and sailed across the lake to a place on the western shore. He stayed there for a little time, then sailed northward to Bethsaida, at the head of the lake. At Bethsaida, they brought him a blind man and asked him to touch his eyes. But Jesus would not heal the man while a crowd was looking on. He led the man out of the village alone. Then he spat on the man's eyes, touched them with his hands, and said to him, "Can you see anything?" The man looked up and said, "I see men, but they look like trees walking." Again, Jesus laid his hands on the man's eyes. He looked once more, and now he could see things clearly. Jesus sent him to his home and said to him, "Do not even go into the village or tell it to anyone in the village." Jesus didn't want crowds coming to him. He wanted to be alone with his disciples, for he had many things to teach them. And that was the word of the Lord. Now we come to our discussion questions. Number 1. Why was Jesus traveling so far? Why was Jesus traveling so far? Number 2. Why did he take the deaf man away from the crowd? Why did he take the deaf man away from the crowd? Number 3. How long did the people follow Jesus? How long did the people follow Jesus? And that was the first part of question number 3. The second part, why did he feel pity for them? Why did he feel pity for them? Last question, number 4. What did Jesus do for the people? What did Jesus do for the people? And with that, we come to the end of our day number 254. It's really nice to have you with me again, for listening, for viewing, for understanding. Feel free to hear it once and twice. Sometimes the first time we don't get everything, and second time we understand more, or we hear things we didn't hear it the first time around. So enjoy, and we shall meet here again. May God bless us all. Till then, bye bye now.